بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we are back discussing Tarsikh Malakat al-Fiqh, the consolidation of proficiency in fiqh, or very loosely titled and translated, how to study fiqh, how to study the Sharia. And in part one, the last time, we mentioned the first 3 points where the student of knowledge can measure his or her progress by how much he knows of each. And those first three were تصور المسائل, or we said التصور الصحيح الشامل, having a broad, inclusive, proper concept of the issues of the Sharia. And then after that, al-istidlal wa ta'lil, after that, developing one's knowledge and learning what the evidences for the issues are, and also their ilal, which is the plural of illah, the operative cause or the meaning. And then, last but not least, we mentioned the third, which is focusing on al-furuq, the distinctions and differences between issues that are close together, that resemble one another, all right? And being sharp in being able to identify the distinctions. What makes this different from that when they both kind of look the same? Very important skill as an aspiring faqih. So after that third, we now come to number 4, the fourth skill, the fourth pillar in acquiring this malaka, this proficiency in fiqh, and that is studying al-ikhtilaf, studying differences of opinion. And this is a broad area of study, comparative fiqh, if you will. And the beautiful thing about Islamic scholarship is that even the study of ikhtilaf amongst the fuqaha is at different levels. So within a single madhab, this is applicable, and between the madhahib, it's also applicable. So myself as a Shafi'i, and this applies to all other madhahib as well, whether one is a Shafi'i, again, like myself, or a Hanafi, a Maliki, or a Hanbali, one studies the issues, tasawwur al-masail, in one's madhab, or according to one's madhab, and then studies the evidences of the madhab, right, including the ilal, and also the furuq, all right, as identified and discussed by the scholars of that madhab. And then also there's ikhtilaf within a single madhab. في المذهب مذاهب. في المذهب مذاهب. So that is going to, of course, strengthen one's knowledge of the school when you compare the mu'tamad, the relied upon opinion in the school, to the weaker opinions within the school. So that's one level of studying and familiarizing oneself with ikhtilaf. And then to advance further, after one has gained their proficiency in a single madhab, you take that same aspiration and apply it to a comparison between all of the madhahib. Studying ikhtilaf. And that is one of the most beautiful and enjoyable ways of strengthening and consolidating one's proficiency in fiqh. So that's number 4. And actually, let me say one more thing about number 4 before moving on to number 5, because it's such an important aspect and it's so beneficial. One of the things that we learn when we study ikhtilaf is the value of the madhab and the mu'tamad, the relied upon opinion of a particular madhab, a particular school, and appreciating where the scholars within a madhab go against the madhab. And this is something that is common amongst all of the schools. There are the opinions which represent the relied upon view of the school, the mu'tamad, and then different scholars, individual scholars, have their ikhtiyarat, their own optimal opinions that they chose. So that's another aspect. It's not just a comparison of madhahib, but also looking at the various ikhtiyarat of imams of fiqh. It's also very important. And understanding why the mu'tamad is the mu'tamad in comparison to the da'if and in comparison to the ikhtiyarat of great individual scholars, again, is a surefire way of strengthening and consolidating that proficiency. Okay, so I had to get that off my chest about the ikhtiyarat. So now we can move on to point number 5. So point number 5 is the student of knowledge should also give attention to studying at-tafri'. At-tafri'. And at-tafri', it comes from far'. Far'a yufarri'u, tafri'an, which means to branch off. In other words, looking at the various masail and their evidences, of course, and understanding what masail are the original issues, the foundational issues, and then based on the proper concept of that issue, the proper conception, and understanding the full scope of the adillah for that issue, being able to derive other issues from it. All right, that's called tafri'. And it's an extremely important skill that the faqih has to develop. And one is not proficient in fiqh until one has a practiced familiarity with at-tafri'. So that's number 5. Understanding derivative issues and how to derive issues from the usul, from the original rulings and issues. That's number 5. And then number 6, and this is last but not least, is a familiarity and a study of the fatawa of the scholars, the legal opinions that they issued. All right, and there are books that are dedicated to collecting fatawa of various imams within all of the schools of fiqh. So when you study the books of fatawa, what you get to see as a student of knowledge is not just fiqh as theoretical academic study, but you can see how fiqh is applied. Because ultimately, that is the skill that one wants to acquire as an advanced student of fiqh. It is an iftah. It's the ability, the qualification to give fatwas. So if you don't have any exposure to precedent in fatawa, you're never going to be able to properly learn the application of your fiqh studies. So that's the last thing. Studying and reading the books of fatawa. They are an essential reference to any student of fiqh. So once again, we'll just go over what those 6 advices, those 6 skills, those 6 fundamentals that every student of knowledge must acquire and understand. It is number 1, at-tasawwur. Number 2, al-istidlal wa ta'lil. And number 3, al-furuq. Al-furuq. So we have properly conceptualizing the issues, connecting the dots, establishing the evidences and the ilal, and discernment of the differences between similar issues. And then number 4, ma'rifatul ikhtilaf, knowledge of the differences amongst the scholars and what the evidences are based on within a madhab and between madhahib. And at-tafri', derivative issues or derivation, how to derive issues. And number 6, al-fatawa, reading the books of fatawa. And once one has gotten the proper groundwork in those 6 areas, then one can say that one has consolidated one's proficiency in fiqh. And as we said in the beginning, that all of these are applicable to other sciences as well. It could be tafsir, it can be aqidah or ilm al-kalam, it could be ulum al-hadith. All right? Not all of them, but at least the first 4 are applicable to what we have discussed in terms of all of the sciences of the Sharia, not just fiqh. So, inshallah, we can take what we've mentioned here and make it a standard for ourselves and our own journey of seeking knowledge of the Sharia, particularly fiqh, because we want to know how to study fiqh. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from al-ulama al-amilin, from those that know and practice what they know, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give us the tawfiq to serve His religion and serve knowledge and the people of knowledge and the students of knowledge. So once again, we thank you for listening. Jazakumullahu khairan. And inshallah, we will both participate together in this journey of talabul ilm. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum.